Aftermath by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for Librivox.org by Rhonda Fetterman. When the summer fields are mown, when the birds are fledged and flown, and the dry leaves strew the path with the falling of the snow, with the cawing of the crow, once again the fields we mow and gather in the aftermath. Not the sweet new grass with flowers is this harvesting of ours, not the upland clover bloom, but the rowan mixed with weeds, tangled tufts from marsh and meads, where the poppy drops its seeds, in the silence and the gloom. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Alley by Lola Ridge, read for Librivox.org by Shona Brogdon-Sturble. Because you are 4 years old, the candle is all dressed up in a new frill, and stars nod to you through the hole in the curtain, except the big stiff planets, too fat to move about much. And you curtsy back to the stars when no one's looking. You feel sorry for the poor wooden chair that knows it isn't nice to sit on, and no one is sad but Mama. You don't like Mama to be sad when you are 4 years old, so you pretend you like the bitter gold pale tea. You pretend if you don't drink it up pretty quick, a little goldfish will think it is a pond and come and get born in it. It's hot in our street, and the breeze is a dirty little broom that sweeps dust into our room and bits of paper out of the alley. You are not let to play with the children in the alley, but you must be very polite. So you pass them and say, "Good day," and when they fling banana skins, you fling them back again. There is no one to play with, and the flies on the window buzz and buzz. You can pull out their legs and stick pins in their bodies, but still they buzz, and Mama says, "When Nero was a little boy, he caught flies on his mama's window and pulled out their legs and stuck pins in their bodies, and nobody loved him. Buzz, blue-bellied flies, buzz, nasty black wheel of Mama's machine. You are the biggest fly of all. You have the loudest buzz. I hear you at dawn before the locusts. But I like the picture of the flood and the little babies getting drowned. If I were there, I would save them. But as I can't save them, I like to watch them getting drowned." When Mama buys a bling hoe, he smiles very wide and picks her the largest loquats. The greensman gave her a cabbage, and she held it against her black bodice and said what a beautiful green it was, and put it on the table as though it had been a flower. But next day we boiled and ate it with salt. It was our dinner. Christmas Day, I found Janie on my pillow. Janie is made of rubber. Her red and blue jacket won't come off. Christmas dinner was green and white, chicken and lettuce and peas, and drops of oil on the salad, smiley and full of light, like the gold on the lady's teeth. But Mama said politely, "Thank you, we are dining out." She wouldn't let you take one pea to put in the hole where the whistle was at the back of Janie's head, so Janie should have some dinner. So you went to the park with biscuits and black tea in a bottle. You feel very sad when you climb on the fence to watch Mama out of sight. The women in the alley poke their heads out of doorways and watch her too. You know her by the way she holds her shoulders till she is only a speck in a chain of specks, till she is swallowed up. But suppose that day after day you were to watch for her face and it didn't come back. Suppose it were to drop out of the string of white faces like the pearl out of my chain I never found again. Mabel minds you while Mama is out. She washes while she sings. 3 blind mice, they all run away from the farmer's wife, who cut off their tails with a carving knife. Wind blows out Mabel's sheets, where you blow in a bag before you burst it. Wind has a soapy smell. It's heavier sun that lies all over you without any weight and makes you feel happy and crinkly like bubbling water. There's no sun on the empty house, sly-looking house. You can't see in its windows that watch you out of their corners. Perhaps there's a big spider there spinning gray threads over the windows till they look like dead people's faces. Jimmy says Jimmy's hair is white as a white mouse. His lashes are gold as Mama's wedding ring, and his mouth feels cool and smooth like a flower wet with rain. You wouldn't believe Jimmy was different till he showed you. Blind wet sheets flapping on the lines, sun in your eyes, dark gold sun full of little black spots. You have to blink and blink. Round eyes of Jimmy, Jimmy's blue jumper, blue shadow of wall. All the world's holding still as when a clock stops. Streets still, people still. No streets, no people, only sky and wall. Sun glaring bright as God down at you and Jimmy. Shadow like a purple cloth trailing off the wall. Wild, wet sheets flapping in the wind. Big slippered feet flapping too. Big balloon face rushing up the alley. Houses closing up again. Windows looking round. Mabel pulls you in the gate and shakes you and tells you not to tell your mama. And you wonder if God has spoiled Jimmy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cargoes by John Masefield. Recorded for Librivox.org by Gabriel Lambrick. Quinquereme of Nineveh from distant Ophir, rowing home to haven in sunny Palestine, with a cargo of ivory and apes and peacocks, sandalwood, cedarwood, and sweet white wine. Stately Spanish galleon, coming from the isthmus, dipping through the tropics by the palm-green shores, with a cargo of diamonds, emeralds, amethysts, topazes and cinnamon, and gold moidores. dirty British coaster with a salt-caked smokestack, butting through the Channel in the mad March days with a cargo of tine coal, road rails, pig lead, firewood, ironware, and cheap tin trays. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Cold Heaven by William Butler Yeats. Read for Librivox.org by Alan Davis Drake. Suddenly I saw the cold and rook-delighting heaven that seemed as though ice burned and was but the more ice. And thereupon imagination and heart were driven so wild that every casual thought of that and this vanished, and left but memories that should be out of season with the hot blood of youth, of love crossed long ago. And I took all the blame out of all the sense and reason, until I cried and trembled and rocked to and fro, riddled with light. Ah, when the ghost begins to quicken, confusion of the deathbed over, is it sent out naked on the roads, as the books say, and stricken by the injustice of the skies for punishment? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Echoing Green by William Blake. Read for Librivox.org by Rhonda Fetterman. The sun does arise and make happy the skies. The merry bells ring to welcome the spring. The skylark and thrush, the birds of the bush, sing louder around to the bell's cheerful sound, while our sports shall be seen on the echoing green. Old John with white hair does laugh away care, sitting under the oak among the old folk. They laugh at our play, and soon they all say, such were the joys when we all, girls and boys, in our youth time were seen on the echoing green. Till the little ones weary no more can be merry, the sun does descend and our sports have on end. Round the laps of their mothers many sisters and brothers, like birds in their nest, are ready for rest, and sports no more seen on the darkening green. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Glory of the Garden by Rudyard Kipling. Read for Librivox.org by Ruth Golding. Our England is a garden that is full of stately views, of borders, beds, and shrubberies, and lawns, and avenues, with statues on the terrace and peacocks strutting by. But the glory of the garden lies in more than meets the eye. For where the old thick laurels grow along the thin red wall, you'll find the tool and potting sheds which are the heart of all, the cold frames and the hot houses, the dung pits and the tanks, the rollers, carts, and drain pipes, with the barrows and the planks. And there you'll see the gardeners, the men and prentice boys, told off to do as they are bid, and do it without noise. For except when seeds are planted and we shout to scare the birds, the glory of the garden it abideth not in words. And some can pot begonias, and some can bud a rose, and some are hardly fit to trust with anything that grows. But they can roll and trim the lawns, and sift the sand and loam, for the glory of the garden occupieth all who come. Our England is a garden, and such gardens are not made by singing, "Oh, how beautiful!" and sitting in the shade, while better men than we go out and start their working lives at grubbing weeds from gravel paths with broken dinner knives. There's not a pair of legs so thin, there's not a head so thick,
There's not a hand so weak and white, nor yet a heart so sick, but it can find some needful job that's crying to be done. For the glory of the garden glorifieth every one. Then seek your job with thankfulness, and work till further orders, if it's only netting strawberries or killing slugs on borders. And when your back stops aching and your hands begin to harden, you will find yourself a partner in the glory of the garden. Oh, Adam was a gardener, and God who made him sees that half a proper gardener's work is done upon his knees. So when your work is finished, you can wash your hands and pray for the glory of the garden, that it may not pass away. And the glory of the garden, it shall never pass away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Happy is England by John Keats, read for Librivox.org by Sergio Baldelli in Rome, April 2009. Happy is England, I could be content to see no other verdure than its own, to feel no other breezes than are blown through its tall woods with the high romances blent. Yet do I sometimes feel a languishment for skies Italian, and an inward groan to sit upon an Alp as on a throne, and half forget what world or worldling meant. Happy is England, sweet her artless daughters, enough their simple loveliness for me, enough their whitest arms in silence clinging. Yet do I often warmly burn to see beauties of a deeper glance, and hear their singing, and float with them about the summer waters. End of a poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Love Thee, Athos by Sappho, translated by Bliss Carman, read for Librivox.org by Bologna Times. I loved thee, Athos, in the long ago, when the great oleanders were in flower in the broad herded meadows full of sun, and we would often at the fall of dusk wander together by the silver stream, when the soft grass heads were all wet with dew, and purple misted in the fading light, and joy I knew, and sorrow at thy voice, and the superb magnificence of love, the loneliness that saddens solitude, and the sweet speech that makes it durable, the bitter longing and the keen desire, the sweet companionship through quiet days, in the slow, ample beauty of the world, and the unutterable glad release within the temple of the holy night. O Athos, how I loved thee long ago, in that fair perished summer by the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
It Couldn't Be Done by Edgar A. Guest, read for Librivox.org by Dan Grzinski. It couldn't be done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with the trace of a grin on his face. If he worried he hit it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed. Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it. But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin, and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you, one by one, the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start in to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Loss of Memory by Walter Savage Landor. Read for Librivox.org by John Nixon, the supercargo of www.thesupercargo.com. Memory, thou hidest from me far, hidest behind some twinkling star which peers o'er Pindus, or whose beam crosses that broad and rapid stream where Zeus in wily whiteness shone, and Leda left her virgin zone. Often I catch thy glimpses still by that clear river, that lone hill, but seldom dost thou softly glide to take thy station at my side. When later friends and forms are near, from these thy traces disappear, and scarce a name can I recall of those I value most of all. At times thou hurriest me away, and pointing out an earlier day, biddest me listen to a song I ought to have forgotten long. Then looking up I see above the plumage of departing love, and when I cry, "Art thou too gone?" he laughs at me and passes on. Some images, alas, how few, still sparkle in the evening dew along my path, and must they quite vanish before a deeper night? Keep one memory yet a while, and let me think I see it smile. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mama by Lola Ridge, read for Librivox.org by Shona Brogdon-Strobel. Mama's face is smooth and pale as tea rose leaves. That ivory oval of Aunt Jim you sucked the miniature off had black, black hair like Mama. Pittity-pat, Mama walks so fast. Street lamps jig without bending a leg. Lights in the windows play twinkling tunes. On crimson and blue bottles like bubbles, big as balloons, faster and faster, and pink light spurts over cakes doing polkas in little white shirts, with cake princesses in flounced white skirts. Pit-pat, Mama walks slower, slower and slower. Eyes, lamps, stars, acres and acres of stars. Bells and sleepily flapping feet. You're glad Mama walks slow. It's nice to be carried along up high near the stars that look at you with a grave, great look. Every night Mama sings you to sleep. When she sings, "Oh, for the light of thine eyes, Dolores," there's a castle on a cliff, and the sea roars like lions. It leaps at the castle, and the cliff knocks it down, but always the sea shakes its flattened head and gets up again. The castle has no roof, so the rain spins silvery webs in it, and Dolores's face floats dim and beautiful the way flowers do when they are drowned. Step by white step, she goes up the castle stairs. But the stair goes up into the sky, and the sky keeps going up too, and none of them ever get there. When Mama sings, "Ba, ba, black sheep," the stars seem to shine through her voice, so everything has to be still. And when she has finished singing, her song goes up off the earth, higher and higher, till it is only as big as a tiny silver bird with nothing but moonlight around it. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Midnight Thoughts by Mary Alice Walton. Read for Librivox.org by Karen Keeney. In silent hours of midnight, while earth is wrapped in dreams, I ponder o'er my present life, how desolate it seems. Through wakeful hours I scan each page, penned in despair and grief, then turn to my loved childhood's home for comfort and relief. A cottage white was standing there, among the grand old hills, and midst the spreading shady trees were songs of laughing rills. In that dear home my parents lived, my brothers large and small, with uncles, aunts, and cousins near, and I, the pet of all. But listen, 'tis my children's call, I hear their plaintive prayer. In fancy now I press soft cheeks, and fondly stroke fair hair. Wide seas may roll between us, yet my darlings will life brave, perchance be folded to my heart, or kiss their mother's grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Night Wind by Eugene Field. Please visit Librivox.org. This reading is by Mia Capo. Have you ever heard the wind go, "You"? 'Tis a pitiful sound to hear. It seems to chill you through and through with a strange and speechless fear. 'Tis the voice of the night that broods outside when folks should be asleep. And many's the time I've cried to the darkness brooding far and wide over the land and the deep. Whom do you want, O lonely night, that you wail the long hours through? And the night would say, in its ghostly way, "You, you, you." My mother told me long ago, when I was a little tad, that when the night went wailing so, somebody had been bad. And then, when I was snug in bed, whither I'd been sent, with the blankets pulled up round my head, I'd think of what my mother'd said, and wonder what boy she meant. And "Who's been bad today?" I'd ask, of the wind that hoarsely blew, and the wind would say, in its meaningful way, "You, you, you." That this was true I must allow. You'll not believe it, though. Yes, though I'm quite the model now, I was not always so. And if you doubt what things I say, suppose you make the test. Suppose when you've been bad some day, and up to bed are sent away from mother and the rest. Suppose you ask, who has been bad? And then you'll hear what's true. For the wind will moan in its roofless tone, "You, you, you." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode recited at the Harvard Commemoration, July 21st, 1865. By James Russell Lowell. Read for Librivox.org by Kalinda. Weak-winged is song, nor aims at that clear ether'd height whither the brave deeds climb for light. We seem to do them wrong. Bringing our robin's leaf to deck their hearse, who in warm life-blood wrote their nobler verse, our trivial song to honor those who come with ears attuned to strenuous trump and drum. And shaped in squadron strophes their desire, live battle odes whose lines were steel and fire, yet sometimes feathered words are strong, a gracious memory to buoy up and save from Lethe's dreamless ooze the common grave of the unventurous throng. To-day our Reverend Mother welcomes back her wisest scholars, those who understood the deeper teaching of her mystic tome, and offered their fresh lives to make it good. No lore of Greece or Rome, no science peddling with the names of things, or reading stars to find inglorious fates, can lift our life with wings far from death's idle gulf that for the many waits, and lengthen out our dates with that clear frame whose memory sings in manly hearts to come, and nerves them and dilates. Nor such thy teaching, Mother of us all. Nor such the trumpet call of thy diviner mood, that could thy sons entice from happy homes and toils, the fruitful nest of those half virtues which the world calls best, into war's tumult rude. But rather far that stern device the sponsors chose that round thy cradle stood, in the dim unventured wood, the veritas that lurks beneath the letter's unprolific sheath, life of whate'er makes life worth living, seed grain of high emprise, immortal food, one heavenly thing whereof earth hath the giving. Many loved truth, and lavished life's best oil amid the dust of books to find her, content at last, for guerdon of their toil, with the cast mantle she hath left behind her. Many in sad faith sought for her, many with crossed hands sighed for her. But these our brothers fought for her, at life's dear peril wrought for her, so loved her that they died for her, tasting the raptured fleetness of her divine completeness. Their higher instinct knew. Those love her best who to themselves are true, and what they dare to dream of, dare to do. They followed her and found her where all may hope to find, not in the ashes of the burnt out mind, but beautiful, with danger's sweetness round her. Where faith made whole with deed breathes its awakening breath into the lifeless creed, they saw her plumed and mailed, with sweet stern face unveiled, and all repaying eyes looked proud on them in death. Our slender life runs rippling by, and glides into the silent hollow of the past. What is there that abides to make the next age better for the last? Is earth too poor to give us something to live for here that shall outlive us? Some more substantial boon than such as flows and ebbs with fortune's fickle moon? The little that we see from doubt is never free, the little that we do is but half nobly true. With our laborious hiving what men call treasure, and the gods call dross, life seems a jest of fate's contriving, only secure in every one's conniving, a long account of nothings paid with loss, where we poor puppets, jerked by unseen wires, after our little hour of strut and rave, with all our pasteboard passions and desires, loves, hates, ambitions, and immortal fires, are tossed pell-mell together in the grave. But stay! No age was e'er degenerate, unless men held it at too cheap a rate, for in our likeness still we shape our fate. Ah, there is something here unfathomed by the cynic's sneer, something that gives our feeble light a high immunity from night, something that leaps life's narrow bars to claim its birthright with the hosts of heaven, a seed of sunshine that can leaven our earthly dullness with the beams of stars, and glorify our clay with light from fountains elder than the day, a conscience more divine than we, a gladness fed with secret tears, a vexing, forward-reaching sense of some more noble permanence, a light across the sea which haunts the soul and will not let it be, still beaconing from the heights of undegenerate years. Whither leads the path to ampler fates that leads? Not down through flowery meads, to reap an aftermath of youth's vainglorious weeds, but up the steep, amid the wrath and shock of deadly hostile creeds, where the world's best, hope and stay, by battle's flashes gropes a desperate way, and every turf the fierce foot clings to bleeds. Peace hath her not ignoble wreath, ere yet the sharp decisive word light the black lips of cannon, and the sword dreams in its easeful sheath. But some day the live coal behind the thought, Whether from Baal's stone obscene, Or from the shrine serene of God's pure altar brought, Bursts up in flame, the war of tongue and pen Learns with what deadly purpose it was fraught, And, helpless in the fiery passion caught, Shakes all the pillared state with shock of men. Some day the soft ideal that we wooed Confronts us fiercely, foe beset, pursued, And cries reproachful, "Was it then my praise, And not myself, was loved? Prove now thy truth! I claim of thee the promise of thy youth. Give me thy life, or cower in empty phrase, The victim of thy genius, not its mate." Life may be given in many ways, And loyalty to truth be sealed As bravely in the closet as the field. So bountiful is fate, but then to stand beside her, When craven churls deride her, To front a lie in arms and not to yield, This shows, methinks, God's plan, And measure of a stalwart man, Limbed like the old heroic breeds, Who stands self poised on manhood's solid earth, Not forced to frame excuses for his birth, Fed from within with all the strength he needs. Such was he, our martyr chief, Whom late the nation he had led, With ashes on her head, Wept with the passion of an angry grief. Forgive me, if from present things I turn To speak what in my heart will beat and burn, And hang my wreath on his world honored urn. Nature, they say, doth dote, And cannot make a man Save on some worn out plan, Repeating us by rote. From him her old world moulds aside she threw, And choosing sweet clay from the breast Of the unexhausted West, With stuff untainted shaped a hero new, Wise, steadfast in the strength of God, and true. How beautiful to see once more A shepherd of mankind indeed, Who loved his charge, but never loved to lead; One whose meek flock the people joyed to be, Not lured by any cheat of birth, But by his clear grained human worth, And brave old wisdom of sincerity. They knew that outward grace is dust; They could not choose but trust In that sure footed mind's unfaltering skill, And supple tempered will, That bent like perfect steel to spring again and thrust. His was no lonely mountain peak of mind, Thrusting to thin air o'er our cloudy bars, A sea mark now lost in vapors blind; Broad prairie rather, genial, level lined, Fruitful and friendly for all human kind, Yet also nigh to heaven, and loved of loftiest stars. Nothing of Europe here, or then Of Europe fronting mornward still, Ere any names of serf and peer Could Nature's equal scheme deface, And thwart her genial will. Here was a type of the true elder race, And one of Plutarch's men talked with us face to face. I praise him not, it were too late; And some native weakness there must be In him who condescends to victory Such as the present gives, and cannot wait Safe in himself as in a fate. So always firmly he knew to bide his time, And can his fame abide, Still patient in his simple faith sublime, Till the wise years decide. Great captains with their guns and drums Disturb our judgment for the hour, But at last silence comes. These are all gone, and standing like a tower Our children shall behold his fame, The kindly, earnest, brave, foreseeing man, Sagacious, patient, dreading praise, not blame, New birth of our new soil, the first American. Long as man's hope insatiate can discern, Or only guess some more inspiring goal Outside of self, enduring as the pole, Along whose course the flying axles burn, Of spirits bravely pitched, earth's manlier brood; Long as below we cannot find The meed that stills the inexorable mind, So long this faith to some ideal good, Under whatever mortal names it masks, Freedom, law, country, this ethereal mood That thanks the Fates for their severer tasks, Feeling its challenged pulses leap, While others skulk in subterfuges cheap, And set in danger's van, has all the boon it asks, Shall win man's praise and woman's love, Shall be a wisdom that we set above All other skills and gifts, to culture dear, A virtue round whose forehead we enwreathe Laurels, that with a living passion breathe When other crowns grow, while we twine them, sere. What brings us thronging these high rites to pay, And seal these hours the noblest of our year, Save that our brothers found this better way? We sit here in the Promised Land, That flows with freedom's honey and milk; But 'twas they won it, sword in hand, Making the nettle danger soft for us as silk. We welcome back our bravest and our best, Ah me! not all, some come not with the rest, Who went forth brave and bright as any here. I strive to mix some gladness with my strain, But the sad strings complain, And will not please the ear. I sweep them for a paean, but they wane Again and yet again into a dirge, and die away in pain. In these brave ranks I only see the gaps, Thinking of dear ones whom the dumb turf wraps, Dark to the triumph which they died to gain. Fitlier may others greet the living, For me the past is unforgiving. I, with uncovered head, Salute the sacred dead, Who went and who return not. Say not so! 'Tis not the grapes of Canaan that repay, But the high faith that failed not by the way. Virtue treads paths that end not in the grave; No bar of endless night exiles the brave, And to the saner mind We rather seem the dead that stayed behind. Blow, trumpets, all your exultations blow, For never shall their aureoled presence lack. I see them muster in a gleaming row, With ever youthful brows that nobler show. We find in our dull road their shining track; In every nobler mood we feel the orient Of their spirit glow. Part of our life's unalterable good, Of all our saintlier aspiration, They come transfigured back, secure from change In their high hearted ways, beautiful evermore, And with the rays of morn on their white shields of expectation. But is there hope to save even this ethereal essence from the grave? Whatever 'scaped oblivion's subtle wrong, Save a few clarion names, or golden threads of song? Before my musing eye The mighty ones of old sweep by, Disvoiced now, and insubstantial things, As noisy once as we, poor ghosts of kings, Shadows of empire wholly gone to dust, And many races, nameless long ago, To darkness driven by that imperious gust Of ever rushing time that here doth blow. O visionary world, condition strange, Where naught abiding is but only change! Where the deep bolted stars themselves still shift and range! Shall we to more continuance make pretence? Renown builds tombs, a life estate is wit, And bit by bit the cunning years steal All from us but woe. Leaves are we, whose decays no harvests sow. But when we vanish hence, shall they lie Forceless in the dark below, Save to make green their little length of sods, Or deepen pansies for a year or two? Who now to us are shining sweet as gods? Was dying all they had the skill to do? That were not fruitless; but the soul resents Such short lived service, as if blind events Ruled without her, or earth could so endure. She claims a more divine investiture, Of longer tenure than fame's airy rents. Whate'er she touches doth her nature share; Her inspiration haunts the ennobled air, Gives eyes to the mountains blind, ears to the deaf earth, Voices to the wind; and her clear trump Sings succor everywhere, by lonely bivouacs to the wakeful mind. For soul inherits all that soul could dare; Yea, manhood hath a wider span And larger privilege of life than man. The single deed, the private sacrifice, So radiant now through proudly hidden tears, Is covered up ere long from mortal eyes With thoughtless drift of the deciduous years. But that high privilege that makes all men peers, That leap of heart whereby a people rise Up to a noble anger's height, And flamed on by the Fates, not shrink, but grow more bright; That swift validity in noble veins Of choosing danger and disdaining shame, Of being set on flame by the pure fire That flies all contact base, but wraps its chosen With angelic might, these are imperishable gains, Sure as the sun, medicinal as light; These hold great futures in their lusty reigns, And certify to earth a new imperial race. Who now shall sneer? Who dare again to say we trace Our lines to a plebeian race, Roundhead and Cavalier? Dumb are those names erewhile in battle loud; Dream footed as the shadow of a cloud, They flit across the ear. That is best blood that hath most iron in it, To edge resolve with, pouring without stint For what makes manhood dear. Tell us not of Plantagenets, Hapsburgs, and Guelfs, Whose thin bloods crawl down from some victor In a border brawl. How poor their outworn coronets, Matched with one leaf of that plain civic wreath Our brave for honor's blazon shall bequeath, Through whose desert a rescued nation sets Her heel on treason, and the trumpet hears Shout victory, tingling Europe's sullen ears With vain resentments and more vain regrets. Not in anger, not in pride, Pure from passion's mixture rude, Ever to base earth allied; But with far heard gratitude, Still with heart and voice renewed, To heroes living and dear martyrs dead. The strain should close that consecrates our brave. Lift the heart and lift the head! Lofty be its mood, and grave Not without a martial ring. not without a prouder tread and a peal of exultation. Little right has he to sing, through whose heart in such an hour beats no march of conscious power, sweeps no tumult of elation. 'Tis no man we celebrate by his country's victories great, a hero half, and half the whim of fate, but the pith and marrow of a nation, drawing force from all her men, highest, humblest, weakest, all for her time of need, and then pulsing it again through them, till the basest can no longer cower, feeling his soul spring up divinely tall, touched but in passing by her mantle hem. Come back, then, noble pride, for 'tis her dower. How could poet ever tower, if his passions, hopes, and fears, if his triumphs and his tears, kept not measure with his people? Boom, cannon, boom to all the winds and waves! Clash out, glad bells, from every rocking steeple! Banners, a dance with triumph, bend your staves! And from every mountain peak let beacon fire to answering beacon speak, Katahdin tell Monadnock, white face he, and so leap on in light from sea to sea, till the glad news be sent across a kindling continent, making earth feel more firm and air breathe braver. Be proud, for she is saved, and all have helped to save her. She that lifts up the manhood of the poor, she of the open soul and open door, with room about her hearth for all mankind. The fire is dreadful in her eyes no more. From her bold front the helm she doth unbind, sends all her handmaid armies back to spin, and bids her navies, that so lately hurled their crashing battle, hold their thunders in, swimming like birds of calm along the unharmful shore. No challenge sends she to the elder world, that looked askance and hated; a slight scorn plays o'er her mouth, as round her mighty knees she calls her children back, and waits the morn of nobler day, enthroned between her subject seas. Bow down, dear land, for thou hast found release. Thy God, in these distempered days, hath taught thee the sure wisdom of his ways, and through thine enemies hath wrought thy peace. Bow down in prayer and praise. No poorest in thy borders but may now lift to the juster skies a man's enfranchised brow. O beautiful, my country, ours once more! Smoothing thy gold of war dishevelled hair O'er such sweet brows as never other wore, and letting thy set lips, freed from wrath's pale eclipse, the rosy edges of their smile lay bare. What words divine of lover or of poet could tell our love, and make thee know it, among the nations bright beyond compare? What were our lives without thee? What all our lives to save thee? We reck not what we gave thee, we will not dare to doubt thee, but ask whatever else, and we will dare. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Of Such as I Have by Susan Coolidge, read for Librivox.org by Karen Keeney. Love me for what I am, love, not for sake of some imagined thing which I might be, some brightness or some goodness not in me. Born of your hope as dawn to eyes that wake, imagine morn before the morning break. If I to please you, whom I fain would please, reset myself like new key to old tune, chain thought, remodeled action, very soon. My hand would slip from yours, and by degrees the loving, faulty friend so close today would vanish and another take her place, a stranger with a stranger's scrutinies, a new regard, an unfamiliar face. Love me for what I am, then, if you may, but if you cannot, love me either way. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
They flee from me that sometime did me seek, by Thomas Wyatt. Read for Librivox.org by Elizabeth Klett. They flee from me that sometime did me seek, with naked foot stalking in my chamber. I have seen them, gentle, tame, and meek, that now are wild and do not remember that sometime they put themselves in danger to take bread at my hand, and now they range busily seeking with a continual change. Thanked be fortune, it hath been otherwise 20 times better, but once in special, in thin array after a pleasant guise, when her loose gown did from her shoulders fall, and she caught me in her arms long and small, therewithal sweetly did me kiss, and softly said, Dear heart, how like you this? It was no dream, I lay broad waking, but all is turned thorough my gentleness into a strange fashion of forsaking, and I have leave to go of her goodness, and she also to use new-fangleness. But since that I so kindly am served, I would fain know what she hath deserved. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for Librivox.org by Hannah Kistner in Santa Barbara, California on March 21, 2009. The tide rises, the tide falls. The tide rises, the tide falls. The twilight darkens, the curlew calls. Along the sea sands damp and brown, the traveler hastens toward the town, and the tide rises, the tide falls. Darkness settles on roofs and walls, but the sea in the darkness calls and calls. The little waves with their soft white hands efface the footprints in the sands, and the tide rises, the tide falls. The morning breaks, the steeds in their stalls stamp and neigh as the hostler calls. The day returns, but never more returns the traveler to the shore, and the tide rises, the tide falls. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Youth by Walter Savage Landor. Read for Librivox.org by John Nixon, the supercargo of www.thesupercargo.com. Where art thou gone, light-ankled youth, with wing at either shoulder, and smile that never left thy mouth until the hours grew colder? Then somewhat seemed to whisper near that thou and I must part. I doubted it, I felt no fear, no weight upon the heart. If aught befell it, love was by, and rolled it off again. So if there ever was a sigh, 'twas not a sigh of pain. I may not call thee back, but thou returnest when the hand of gentle sleep waves o'er my brow his poppy-crested wand. Then smiling eyes bend over mine, then lips once pressed invite, but sleep hath given a silent sign, and both, alas, take flight. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"26 Nonsense Rhymes and Pictures", read for Librivox.org by Ben Cacciaro, State College, Pennsylvania, March 18th, 2009. The absolutely abstemious ass who resided in a barrel and only lived on soda water and pickled cucumbers. The bountiful beetle who always carried a green umbrella when it didn't rain and left it at home when it did. The comfortable, confidential cow who sate in her red Morocco armchair and toasted her own bread at the parlor fire. The Dolomphius duck who caught spotted frogs for her dinner with a runcible spoon. The enthusiastic elephant who ferried herself across the water with a kitchen poker and a new pair of earrings. The Fisgigius fish who always walked about on stilts because he had no legs. The good-natured gray gull who carried the old owl and his crimson carpet bag across the river because he could not swim. The hasty, higgledy-piggledy hen who went to the market in a blue bonnet and shawl and bought a fish for her supper. The inventive Indian who caught a remarkable rabbit in a stupendous silver spoon. The judicious, jubilant jay who did up her back hair every morning with a wreath of roses, 3 feathers, and a gold pin. The kicking kangaroo who wore a pale pink muslin dress with blue spots. The lively, learned lobster who mended his own clothes with a needle and thread. The melodious, meritorious mouse who played a merry minuet on the pianoforte. The nutritious newt who purchased a round plum pudding for his granddaughter. The obsequious, ornamental ostrich, who wore boots to keep his feet quite dry. The perpendicular purple polly, who read the newspaper and ate parsnip pie with his spectacles. The queer, querulous quail, who smoked a pipe of tobacco on top of a tin tea kettle. The rural runcible raven, who wore a white wig and flew away with the carpet broom. The scroobius snake, who always wore a hat on his head for fear he should bite anybody. The tumultuous Tom-Tommy tortoise, who beat a drum all day long in the middle of the wilderness. The umbrageous umbrella-maker, whose face nobody ever saw because it was always covered by his umbrella. The visibly vicious vulture, who wrote some verses to a veal cutlet in a volume bound in vellum. The worrying, whizzing wasp, who stood on a table and played sweetly on a flute with a morning cap. The excellent, double extra XX imbibing King Xerxes, who lived a long while ago. The Yongi Bongi Bo, whose head was ever so much bigger than his body, and whose hat was rather small. The zigzag, zealous zebra, who carried 5 monkeys on his back all the way to the Jellabilly. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under the Rod by Mary Alice Walton. Read for Librivox.org by Karen Keeney. Blind and helpless, alone I wait. The way seems dark and prayer's too late. My anguished soul sends forth the cry, Father, save me, ere I die. Save me for my children small. Leave them not to sin and fall. Sending forth the saddened call, Mother, come back, Mother. Blind and helpless, days wear by, sick and friendless, left to die. The darkness deepens as I grope, afraid to live, afraid to hope. Tell me of a better land, Lord, I cannot see thy hand. Around me steals an icy band. Save me, or I perish. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Whoso list to hunt by Thomas Wyatt. Read for Librivox.org by Elizabeth Klett. Whoso list to hunt, I know where is an hind. But as for me, alas, I may no more. The vain travail hath worried me so sore, I am of them that furthest come behind. Yet may I by no means my worried mind draw from the deer, but as she fleeth afore fainting I follow. I leave off therefore, since in a net I seek to hold the wind. Who list her hunt, I put him out of doubt, as well as I may spend his time in vain. And graven in diamonds in letters plain there is written her fair neck round about, Noli me tangere, for Caesar's I am, and wild to hold, though I seem tame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Windhover, to Christ our Lord, by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Read for Librivox.org by Gabriel Lambrick. I caught this morning, morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon, in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy. Then off, forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achiever of, the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valour and act, oh, air, pride, plume, here buckle! And the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, O my chevalier! No wonder of it, sheer plod makes plough down silly and shine, and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.